good look, my dear. It's a historic moment. You can tell your grandchildren how you watched the Old South disappear one night.
I view Gone with the Wind as really a prelude to the New South. You see, even in Scarlett O'Hara, a determination to rebuild from the ashes and to reestablish a city on a new basis.
This is the only American city that was ever completely destroyed by war. Because Sherman wiped it all out, he brought about our first urban renewal program. And we've been working on that ever since. So Atlanta is a brave new city. It's a modern city. It probably has the finest infrastructure and the finest planning of any city in the world.
If it hadn't been destroyed once, it probably wouldn't be so open-minded and receptive to all kinds of people. Here they brought in anybody who had a shovel or a little money or some know-how to rebuild.
Atlanta, city of the rising phoenix. A modern metropolis carved out of the forest.
There is a spirit that this town has that I can only compare to perhaps what some of our forefathers felt when they moved out west.
And people really invest in not being rude. That sounds like a small thing, but it has a great deal to do with one's internal comfort.
Atlanta's leaders have always had great expectations for the city and usually found a way to make its slogan, "A city without limits," a reality.
You only have to look at the skyline of Atlanta and see the makeup of its population, the progressive nature of its business and financial community and the city government, how it relates to the state government, to see that Atlanta is unique.
Atlanta's a bustling city. It's not a city with a leadership that's pessimistic. It's made up of a group of leaders who believe that we can address our problems and solve them and move on to bigger and better things.
When there is a problem, Atlanta just doesn't say, we've got a problem. Atlanta says, how do we solve the problem?
I wrote about street people and old people being cold, and if you couldn't, provide them a shelter and a hot bowl of soup, a knitted cap was needed. Got 6,000 caps right away.
From its earliest days as a railroad town called Terminus, Atlanta grew as a transportation center. The city is still the crossroads of the South. Converging interstates and rail lines tie the city to the region, and Atlanta's airport is the largest and busiest in the world.
Out of this city, I can cover 85% of the population of the United States on a commute basis. I could catch an early bird flight in the morning and go to Houston, Denver, to St. Louis, Chicago, Boston, around to Miami. And I can leave in the morning, work all day in any of those cities, be back here at night and have dinner with my family.
Thanks to aviation, Atlanta is growing as an international city. With every new overseas route, more international firms and visitors are attracted to the area. While Atlanta continues to be a manufacturing center, most of its 1.25 million jobs are in specialized business services. With over 140 shopping malls in the metro area, the city is the retail center for the entire Southeast. Atlanta is a place where ideas are generated. The city's world-class universities nurture a highly educated population, people who put ideas to work.
I've been studying high achievers for over a decade, and I'm convinced that all the situational factors necessary for high achievement are right here in Atlanta.
You can go as far and as fast as you want to in Atlanta. There's nothing to hold you back. Our competitors in the networking business said you couldn't start a news network that was based in Atlanta. It had to be based in New York or Washington. Well, we proved them wrong.
There is such an infusion of outside people into Atlanta that you are constantly meeting people who have come from other backgrounds in other areas. And there's a marvelous melting pot atmosphere that's going on here.
A couple years ago, I went to a relocation convention, and most of the reload people were mad at Atlanta. And I was trying to figure out why were they mad. And the problem was that they could easily attract people into Atlanta. They had difficulty getting them back out.
For all its urban chic, Atlanta is still an earthy place. If you look closely, you can find traces of its past in the shadows of the city. Georgia's varied landscapes are a constant delight to visitors. The rustic mountains of North Georgia are only a short drive from Atlanta. Along the coast are the unspoiled Golden Isles and the rich history of the bustling port city of Savannah. From the primordial serenity of the Okefenokee Swamp to the relaxed atmosphere of small-town life, Georgia is a place that lives well.
You have the advantages of living in neighborhoods that are like villages with the graciousness of the South, and at the same time you have all of the business opportunities that go with a dynamic, progressive metropolitan area.
The city's entertainment pulse beats 24 hours a day. From Midtown to Buckhead, the pursuit of nighttime fun is known as the Peachtree Shuffle. Atlanta's restaurants can please every palate, from five-star cuisine to the world's largest drive-in. Atlanta didn't automatically become a big league city when the franchises came to town. It earned its reputation.
I just appreciate, I guess, the lifestyle of the South and of Atlanta in particular, and probably what everything that Atlanta has to offer.
The people really treat you really like you're one of their own. They really got a lot of Southern hospitality here.
Georgia's Southern hospitality extends to its comfortable climate. With 4 distinct seasons, outdoor sports and recreation continue year-round. Perhaps the Peachtree Road Race best catches the spirit of Atlanta. It's full of energy and open to everyone.
People tend to think of Atlanta as being a very conservative place. You know, they think of it, if they think of culture at all when they come here, as kind of antebellum, Gone with the Wind kind of stuff, which is really not true. There's a thriving avant-garde here that does things that have absolutely nothing to do with Gone with the Wind, which is wonderful.
You could even use the term almost wide open. You're free to try a lot of things. It's a good proving ground, I think, for not only artists, but just for people in general.
I was attracted by the possibility of building an instrument, both symphonic and balletic or choral, but building a musical environment in a growing city.
I tend to be more nervous dancing at home because I want to give them, of course, the best that I can. But we have an incredible audience for the ballet, and we're very lucky because they are educated, they love what we're doing, and they push us to do better.
Atlanta's internationally acclaimed arts complex honors the late Robert Woodruff, the city's great philanthropist. Another inspiring facet of the city is Atlanta's unique role in our nation's history.
I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia,
I could never have hoped to be considered seriously as a presidential candidate had it not been for Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement, the progressive nature of Atlanta. It's a city that has, as has often been said, been too busy to hate. Atlanta has progress not just for people to make a profit, but for people to learn how to work together.
There's always been an enlightened leadership, both on
the side of blacks as well as whites, so that a Martin Luther King Jr. could emerge, say, from Atlanta, from the black experience.
I sometimes walk around downtown and you see black men and white men, black women and white women in their business suits with their briefcases hustling about and having power lunches, and you think, golly, it wasn't so terribly long ago that wouldn't have been possible. But it was through the civil rights movement that really in a way had its birthplace here with the birth of Dr. King that made it all possible.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind. I said, Georgia.
Georgians remember where we came from, and we respect that. Of course, when you know where you came from and see all the progress that is happening in Georgia, then you realize that we have no boundaries. We have no restraints on what we may become in the future.
I think we do have the potential for being a truly 21st century city. Our airport, our expressway system, our universities, the presence of 470 of the Fortune 500 companies all give us the basis of moving into the next century as a truly great city.
It's just an extraordinarily rich and pleasant place to make a family life and to make a life's work.
It's moving. It's like a teenager, you know, just getting ready to go.
Well, we had a Roman visitor recently from Italy who came by and who was astonished at Atlanta. He had no idea what to expect. And he said it reminded him of the Villa Borghese in Rome with skyscrapers.
I think it's brave and it's beautiful and it's lively and it's mean and it's funny. And what else? And it's home.
I guess at some point there were ashes here, but it's hard to find them now.
And when I go places and people say, you live in Atlanta, Georgia? And I say, yeah. They go, but that's the South, the deep South. I said, yeah, you should come see it. It's changed a lot since maybe last you were there.
Perhaps the editor Henry Grady said it best when he said, "We have raised a brave and beautiful city." Indeed.